Okay, hello. Welcome to the Enterprise Excellence Network webinar series. And today we are joined with Jim Lippens and Professor Peter Heinz. So today Jim will be giving an executive overview on 4D Lean, including the Harada method. Just before we go into the presentation, for those who are not familiar with who we are a network arena for lean leaders, founded by Professor Peter Heinz, and we deliver best practice and benchmarking events with award-winning host sites. If you'd like to find out more, though, you will have my email address as a follow-up after the webinar. Okay, so just a bit about the presentation. We'll be having a 30-minute presentation by Jim and then a 30-minute Q&A session at the end where you can ask your questions in the questions tab. Okay, I'll hand over to Professor Peter Heinz now. Thank you.
Great, thanks very much, Emma, and welcome along everyone to our session. So I'm pleased to have Jim with us, and Jim and I we started a conversation before Christmas, and I was at the time doing some research on the people side of lean, and I was interested in areas like the employee journey through the organization, interested in things like reliance, self-reliance in organizations, etc. And I came across some of Jim's work and started talking and looking at what he was doing, and the Harada method and his evolution approach. And I thought there were some really interesting things here. So I thought it'd be very nice to introduce Jim and get him to share some of that information with you all. So, so Jim, welcome.
Thank you. So I'm Jim Lippens from Belgium. Today I want to talk about leadership of tomorrow, the trends going on for the moment in leadership, what is going on in lean, what is going on in organizations. I worked 22 years mainly in change management, 10 years automotive, 10 years in textiles, and 2 years in construction. Now the biggest lessons I got the moment that I became a plant manager. One day my boss, the COO, asked me if I wanted to become a plant manager of a department of over 100 people. Now the department looked like this. So you see some pictures of how the department was. And the department, it made loss since 30 years. So there were plans to close the department. But I knew the potential of the operators, and for me it was kind of an injustice closing the department, because the operators were not the root cause of the problem. That was somewhere else. And I decided to lead by example, and I decided, okay, I want to help these guys. I will be their plant manager, and in the meantime, I will test everything that I read about lean, about agile, about everything that that I saw. That time I was reading the work of Norman Bodek. Norman Bodek, the man who brought the Toyota production system from Japan to America in the 80s. Later on, he was called the godfather of lean. And Norman Bodek, he was convinced that the biggest waste of all is the underutilization of people's talent and potential. So, and it's like how it feels when you are stuck in your day job and you know your true potential. So you know internally what's in you, and you cannot bring it out. So it's really frustrating. Now these are the figures for Europe. So 87% of the employees in Europe are, and I think 2 webinars ago, Paul Marciano already spoke about this phenomenon. Here you see the figures for Belgium. It's 12%. For example, the UK, it's 17% engaged, so 88% in Belgium non-engaged. And there already the discussion came up, what's the difference in productivity between non-engaged and engaged people? And the reality is that non-engaged people are 45 less productive than engaged people. Now, a lot of managers, they only start doing something when they see the value in euros of it. So when we calculate the cost, just the cost of lack of engagement for a plant with 100 employees, like I had, costing about 50,000 euro, including taxes and so on, per person, then you have 78 people non-engaged times 45% loss time the cost. That means that for every 100 employees in your company, that you lose 2 million euro. Now, I'm used to do improvement programs for 20 years to find 2 million euros a year in a plant of 100 employees. You cannot do any improvement program that is higher in value than this one. So the question was there, isn't it time to spend some attention motivating people? Because this is what we hear from the companies. We need more commitment of our people. Okay, more commitment of our people. The moment that people are more committed, then this is promised. You get higher profit. There you have the 45% productivity increase. You get more sales, you get more innovation, you get less accidents, less absenteeism, and less burnouts. Now, the question is, how do you blossom people really to their maximum? And then we go back to the pyramid of Maslow, where we see that the biggest human need is self-realization. So people want to be meaningful. People want to realize something that is inside of them. But of course, they need to get the chance doing that. And to do that, to do self-realization, you need two main things. One, you need to have a goal that's based on passion and talent. And two, you need an environment that is stimulating you in achieving that goal. Now, this is the start of something I summarized in my 4D Lean model. And my 4D Lean model is kind of a summary of everything that happened in the nearly 5 years that I was plant manager. So I wanted to summarize it in one page, and that page I called it the 4D Lean model. And it's an awareness model, but it's also a roadmap how you can do the trip towards maximum potential. It's based on facts and figures. So the graph you will see, it's based on fact and figures. And in fact, it's also a communication tool. You will see we are talking about 1D, 2D, 3D, and so on. Using these terms makes it easy to talk with each other and directly knowing what type or what problem is hiding in that dimension. So here you see the model, the initial model, because lately I added an extra and a latest D. So you see here the model, and you can look at the model as a company, but you can also look at it as an individual. And on the y-axis, there you have, in fact, everything that is positive. So customer satisfaction, employee satisfaction, number of innovative ideas, profit, safety, and so on. Now, suppose you are a company, a 0D company. 0D companies, they are focusing on status quo. So nothing happens there. Like in administration, for example, you have a lot of administration offices where not a lot is happening. So the line stays rather flat. Now, the moment that you come in this point, then you need or you want to do something, you want to change something, and then you have the option, or you go to 1D, and unfortunately, the majority of companies jump to short-term solutions or choices instead of going for the long-term reality. Now, in 1D, these are companies focusing on control. So they want to control their employees, and they see their company kind of like a lemon, and they want to squeeze that lemon. So we have a top-down control system, and in the beginning you have some low-hanging fruit. For example, somebody is leaving the company, or is retiring, and they are not replaced. So in the beginning, everybody thinks, yeah, we're on the right way, everything is going well. But the moment that the employees see that it's one direction, then they start getting in resistance. So you see that the curve is going down and it hits kind of the bottom. There is the period that you risk to have strikes. So in Belgium, for example, bpost, they really squeezed their employees that far that they went in strike, and the motivation there is really a lot lower than even in 0D companies. Now, to get out of that bottom situation, you really need a people manager, but you only can do it twice. So my advice is never go in that 1D phase, because you end up getting in trouble. So my advice is jump immediately to 2D, and 2D, there, without any doubt, Toyota is still #1 in the world. You see there the pillars. We have a long-term vision, continuous improvement, respect for people. So the Toyota way really is in that phase. We have authentic leaders, and really the key to get in 2D is trust. So trust is really important to get into 2D. In 1D there is no trust. In 2D we have trust, and we see that it's two directions. We are striving for win-win. Here typically you have 2 to 4% improvements a year. Now this is still a rather rational approach. What we see now is a lot of startups, they are focusing on passion and talent. They are not talking about continuous improvement, they are talking about continuous innovation, and they try to be agile. For example, Google, these kind of companies, also Amazon, fast delivery, and so on, they are trying to be in that section. The moment that the leader dares to be vulnerable, then you get really the big jump in the performance. So here, myself, I did improvement programs where in 2 months you get 100% improvement. So instead of 4% a year, here you get in 2 months 100%. And the best method there to use, what I saw, to make your people self-reliant, it's the Harada method. A last section, it's 4D companies. 4D companies, they are looking for purpose. They are striving for a better world. They have attention for balance, personal well-being, happiness. Happiness at work is there one of the slogans that they are using. Now, people in these companies, how do they react? In a 0D company, an employee, he used to say, leave it as it is. In a 1D company, I have to do this, I have to do that. So it's a big burden to do something. Here in 2D, they are allowed already to think with the team. In 3D, they really want it, and in 4D, they like to be. Now, as I told, no, I didn't tell yet, but the effort needed to go from 1D to 2D is you need there an energy of 100. From 2D to 3D, you need 10, and from 3D to 4D, you need 1. So it becomes easier and easier and easier. So if you want to shift from, let's say, from this point to the end point, I advise you to do it in that way, because when you do it otherwise, it's not that easy to do it. Now, recently, I added a last section of it. And here you see that the I am section came in 4D plus. 4D plus, what we see with Corona, a lot of mainly spiritual entrepreneurs, they showed up and they start talking about flow, about energy, and it's not about happiness anymore. They are talking about love. This is a trend that is going on. Of course, a lot of companies are not ready, even not for happiness at work. So for sure, not for love. But there you see already a pizza, and we will talk about that pizza later on. So my idea is, and what I saw, and I will show you with the shift that is going on, try to create your own pizza in your company based on 2D, 3D, and 4D slices. Try to get rid of 0D and for sure 1D parts, because in 1D, there we have the burnouts, there we have the absenteeism, the high absenteeism rates, and we have big turnovers. Now, in fact, everybody got 3 power centers. We have the brain, we have the heart, and we have the gut. But most of us just use one of these 3 sectors or centers mainly. To split it, everything on the left side from 4D, it's doing, it's masculine energy. Everything on the right side of 3D, it's the feminine energy, it's more being. Other words, until 3D, it's result, 4D, 4D plus, it's balance. 2D, you can call it like lean, 3D agile, 4D teal. Now, this is something I would like to know from the people attending for the moment. Emma, could you show the survey and ask the people in which section they, as an individual, are for the moment? So A, 0D.
Okay, that's just being launched.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just the final few coming in. Okay, so we're just waiting on a few more votes. I think for now we can go with, so 4% said A, 0D, 11% said B, 1D, 39% said C, 2D, 21% said D, 3D, and 32% said E, 4D or 4D plus.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if the people, the 0D and the 1D people voted for themselves or for their company. So I would like now to see the same question, but then for the company. So how do the people in the audience rate their company? How do they rate their organization? And if they are self-employed, where do they see the most of their clients?
Okay, I've just launched that poll as well. Okay, so we have last few coming in. 12% said A, 0D, 31% said B, 1D, 31% said C, 2D, 15% said D, 3D, and 15% 4D or 4D plus.
Yeah. And that is in general what we always see is that individuals they score more to the right side and companies score more to the left side. Now this is in fact what you see in reality when I give a training, and I asked people in the audience, can you estimate like we did just, then you see that employees mainly are on the right side. Sometimes I combine it with insights colors, but you see here on the right side all the colored post-its. They are individual post-its, so they mainly are 2D, 3D, 4D, and then you see that there's a gap between the companies, the organizations, and the employee. So, and there is a big problem going on, and that problem is getting bigger and bigger. So it all starts with awareness, and recently I developed a scan where you can do, if you have some spare time this weekend, you can do and check if you are mainly in 2D, in 3D, or in 4D. So you get an individual result, an individual pizza with your answers, and you get also a view of your organization. So here you see my personal view or my personal result of the company where I worked, you know, where you saw the pictures from. You get kind of a radar split in 5 categories, and you also see visually where you are at the model. So you see that I am in the right side of 3D, so I call it 3D plus. My personal dimensional quotient is 3.89, and the dimensional quotient of the organization was 1.2. Now, if you see that, you see already on the right side that the match between me and the organization was only 31%, and the gap was over 2.5 D. This is a situation, it will not last. It did not last neither, because 1D companies are really hard to shift to the next levels. Now, what is going on with millennials? Millennials are people born between 81 and 95. 95% of these millennials, they are in the section, in the 3D section, in combination with the 4D section. So 95% of the new generations are already there. When I do a keynote in a university where we have now Generation Z, these are people between 96 and 2010, then you see a shift, even half a D to 1D more to the right. So the gap between organizations not changing anything and, you know, the new generations is getting bigger and bigger, and that means they will not stay together, or they have to change, or they will lose their employees. And this is what the study showed, that 60% of the millennials will leave their company in the next 3 years. 77% of the current employees are telling in this study that you are open to looking for a new job. The cost, again, here we have again a cost of losing an employee is between $15,000 and $20,000. Now, we are evolving, if you want it yes or no, we are evolving to a culture of individual attention. What is important for millennials? You need to know that. If you don't know that and you don't spend attention to that, you just will lose them in short term. Millennials, exciting culture, career opportunities, self-development, and on the 4th spot, only salary. When you go to Generation Z, these are the TikTok generations or the YouTube generations. So they hope, it's kind of a mentality, they hope to be world famous by just making one TikTok or one YouTube video. So they hope to get paid as much as possible to do the least possible. So this will cause in the future big problems if there is no solution to tackle this situation. Second spot, atmosphere, but you see it's all about autonomy, freedom, participation, happiness at work, social contact, and so on. So I told you they are shifting to the right side. They are shifting to 4D, even 4D plus. Now, environment is one. Realizing goals, for how to realize goals, which is really important if you want to unleash your infinite potential. And there's another problem. Companies, they try to force their employees to do something where they don't really know the purpose, and they try to focus on KPIs, yeah, that come from the company. Now, a study of Johnson & Johnson on over 100,000 employees showed that 95% of the employees do not get energized by what is going on in the company. So it doesn't make sense to ask people, you have to do something that we want. So you have to play it in a smart way, and you have to think about what energizes them, what energizes people in a company. And this is all generations. This is not millennials or Generation Z. It's what's in for me, what's in for the team, what's in for the customer, or what's in for society. So you should focus there. Now, in 2014, there was pressure on the prizes in my department, and that time I found an article of Norman Bodek, and Norman Bodek there wrote that he found the Harada method. The Harada method, he called it world's best method to develop people, and it's all about self-reliance. Self-reliance means self-confident, self-conscious, independent, and self-managing. Now, where did he find it? There is a list called the map with best practices of all things all over the world. And there in management by objective, he found that daily management system by Takashi Harada was rated #1 in the world. So Norman Bodek, again, he has a nose for talent. He went to Japan to meet Mr. Harada. They both wrote a book. I translated the book later on in Dutch, and it's about developing people to their maximum potential. So they want to make every goal possible, and they watch over finding and keeping balance. I don't go in detail here, but you have 5 supporting forms. 2 main elements is the moment that they are setting a goal, they want to know the purpose. What's in for me, what's in for others, what's tangible and what's intangible. And they link, in fact, the purpose to values and to emotions. Another thing is they are convinced that, and Mr. Harada did 25 years of study on this method, mainly on athletic students. And he is convinced, or he saw, that you cannot have lasting results without balance. Balance, you have 4 elements: skills, mental health, physical condition, and regular daily life. Now, in fact, in the past we were thinking that we need to work hard and that's it. Now we see, okay, we need some time off, we need sleep, we need healthy food, we need to exercise, and so on. In the Harada options, you have the choice. You can pick a personal goal, a company goal, or multiple goals parallel to each other. So I started developing and training my people the Harada method. I did it in the textile plant, where I was plant manager. Later on, I also did it in the construction plant. And what I saw is really, when you get happy people in your team, you create kind of a dynamite team. Harada himself told me that the effectiveness of the team multiplies by 10. I saw at least multiplying the effectiveness by 3. So that's what we want to do. We want to build a team with the same dream and really based on common feelings, on vulnerability, on purpose, on and it's kind of the pizza that you see back in the method. Now the results in my department, you saw the pictures in the beginning. They were trying to close the department. We changed, or in fact, the people in the department changed everything. This is the department in the end. Lean companies from all over Flanders came to look because it was really an example for 5S. they started inventing their own patents. They started inventing new fibers, but also I asked them a question because I wanted to see what is the limit of the human potential. And I wanted to see how deep the trust in me was, because, you know, trust is the first element to enter 2D. And I asked them a question in a 1D way, and I asked them, okay, invent the machine, so I just need 50% of you. And it was kind of a check to see how deep the trust was. But some months later, they came with a prototype, and this is a machine with the risk of losing 50% of them. Now, we put 2 of these machines, so the productivity increased with just doubled, and nobody was in danger, because when we would have taken out one of these operators, they would never think about doing such an idea again. These are the results in figures. Productivity went up from 58 to 94%. Non-incidents or accidents in the period I was there as a plant manager. Nobody left the company, and the absenteeism went down from about 10% to less than 0.5%. Now, my idea was, and I was talking on a conference in Holland with mainly lean people in the audience, and they were telling me, yeah, the Harada method, we don't know, because yeah, Toyota is not doing it, so there should be something wrong. We don't know. So as a Harada trainer, I was used to give myself goals. So my goal was to train Toyota in the Harada method, so I could shift them from a more rational base to a more emotional base. And here you see, if you want something, if you really go for it, in May 2018, I gave the first Harada training in Toyota. Here you see the picture, and I have to thank Nigel Turlow still for the opportunity he gave me there. And later on, Toyota was that convinced that they started selling their own Harada training. So for the people 2 years ago in Holland doubting about the Harada method, here is you know, the proof. Toyota Connected is now selling the Harada method in America. So my advice to be future-proof is create your own pizza with 2D, 3D, and 4D slices. If you want to know where you are, look at the free scan on dimensionalquotient.com and keep focusing on the human potential, because it is endless, it is unlimited if you just give them the chance to do what they have inside of them. I thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Jim. Pretty quick run through of your approach, etc. So what we're doing now is we're going to open the question and answer session. So on your control area, you'll find there's a question section. So if you'd like to type in your questions there, and then I'll read them out and post them to Jim. So while you're having a think and typing them in, maybe I could ask, I'm interested in the sort of where Toyota is, Jim, and so forth. And, you know, some of the work that I've done on the self-reliance, which I think fits into the sort of 3D sort of area. And some of the literature on that around Toyota was that the original Toyota system used the Samuel Smiles self-help, self-reliance approach in some of the thinking. Are you familiar with that, or maybe you could comment on that a little bit? How does that fit in with this?
The basics, yeah. Now in the Harada method, you know, you will work with the coach, and that coach might be your manager. So therefore, you already need kind of a really open relation. So the manager needs to be vulnerable. The moment that he is not vulnerable, okay, you stay in that rational phase, and you try to convince. The moment that you are, hitting the heart, then you just need to be there once. So that is in fact the strength of the Harada method, is that really you be that vulnerable. The moment that you fill in the documents, your manager or your coach or whoever, he sees all the details, all personal details. Is the employee willing to do that in his company? And is therefore you need trust and really a connection, a hard connection between the employee and the manager. But the first task for me is that the manager is open to be vulnerable.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So we've got quite a few questions coming in already. So the first one was from Steve. So he actually put something later, so I'll do both. So Peter has done some work recently with Cheryl Jekyll. So her work is on lean human resources, so that's sort of her area. So he says, how much involvement in your plant manager role did you have with HR, or did you really just do this yourself?
For me, one of the problems is that HR are not leaving their offices enough. So they are mainly working on paychecks and so on, but they are not really aware what is going on the shop floor. So I did this with my team and HR. They saw the results, and they saw that nobody was sick, and that nobody left the company, and that there were no accidents and so on. And in all surveys they did in the complete plant, because I only had 100 people out of 350, they saw that the department was, they just broke all the records every week. But HR, they were not really involved.
Okay, I mean, I agree with the HR thing. So most HR are sort of tucked away in some office doing back office things and not really involved in improvement. And one example I had that was the opposite of that was a company called Cogent Power Inc., which I wrote a book on. And the new HR head came in, and she was shown to a lovely sort of corner office, beautiful, etc. And the boss of the factory said, here's your office, Donna. And she said, no, it's not. So after making the story short, she ended up making them build an office for her and a training center in the middle of the shop floor, because she said, this is where my customers are, this is where I need to be. But yeah, you know as well as I, Jim, the number of HR people like that is 1 in a million.
Yeah, but I did the same. So my office was on the second floor. My previous the previous plant manager, he wanted to look down literally on his employees. So on the first day I started, I told my people, we are not going to produce today. We are going to take that office down, and I want it to be put in the middle of the production hall. And it's yeah, they did it, and my door was always open.
Excellent. So I have a question here from Esther, who says, what is preventing companies from moving upwards if there's so many people already at the higher levels?
Preventing?
So, you showed the gap. So people are higher up in their own thinking than the companies. So what's preventing companies moving to the higher levels of D? Ego
is one of the big things. They want to keep control. So the kind of fear, you have to trust your people. So letting go of control is one of the main things. And my objective was, that my department would not need me anymore after I did this work. But a lot of managers, they are just thinking about their own position and getting higher and higher, and they are not interested really in what is going on. So they are mainly protecting their own position. They are looking for short-term results, while you have to try. You have to do some experiments. Trial and error. You have to give people opportunities to learn. Yeah, it's mainly mindset to do it, because yeah, they are not always aware of what is going on in the next phases. So self-development for the managers, it's also important. When I keynote for managers, and I ask what is the budget that you spent the previous 6 months on self-development yourself, not paid by the company, then it's nearly always nothing. So
Yeah.
that is the mindset.
I think also, one of the values of your approach is that people aren't aware of the next stage in many ways. And how do you move if you don't know what you don't know, sort of thing. And I mean, one of the revelations I've had in the last few months is that, in the lean world, we tend to use Toyota as the main company and other sort of important manufacturing companies, but we tend to ignore what's happening in the new economy, and like Google and Netflix and all these sort of organizations that are going really fast. Anyway, lots more questions. So what's the essence of daily management for 4D lean Harada method?
Daily management, it's basic. It's a part of it's part of 2D, so it has to be there. Standardizations, it need to be there. You have to get rid of the waste as much as possible, but don't spoil your time too much on the 2 to 4% improvement in 2D, while for example, by using Scrum, you can hit 25% in 2 months, for example. So don't look too much to the details when the base is there. My advice is always try to implement new things, and 3D for sure. Don't wait for 4D to implement in the end. You need to bring it in already earlier. A problem for 3D companies, for example, for startups is, and I see it immediately when I go in, for example, a marketing office, I see immediately if there is 5S, yes or no, if they lack the basics, yes or no. And for example, marketing companies who are not able to create a link between what they are doing and a result, that is a problem. That is, for example, a problem for 3D companies. They don't have the mindset of 2D measuring results.
Right. Okay. Thank you. So we have a question. I think I'm not sure I'm going to pronounce this right, but I think it's Vignes. Anyway, sorry if that was not quite right. But the question is, do you start the Harada method at the beginning if you're in 0D or 1D, or is it something you can only do sort of later on the journey?
No, you can do it whenever you want. But what I see in my trainings, so 0D people, they don't want to do anything, so they are not interested. So they're
probably not at the training anyway.
Yeah, I never saw. I never had a 0D because they don't see the value of training. 1D people, they see the Harada method, self-reliance, like it's a threat. So they don't come neither. For them, I'm kind of a rebel. They want to stay in their in their position. They want to protect their own wealth. Let's call it like that. But you can do the Harada method from 2D to 3D to 4D. What I see, there's an evolution. In the beginning, when I gave this Harada method, 95% of the people in my training were 2D people, and they wanted to shift to 3D. Now, what I see is that 50% comes from 4D and 50% comes from 2D, 3D. The problem with a lot of 4D people is that they don't like structure. And so 4D people, they can learn from the Harada method to integrate the structure. On the other hand, 2D people can learn from the balance side from 4D. But it doesn't matter. You can do the Harada method for yourself, for your company, whatever on whatever level you are.
Okay, very good. So a question here from Stephen. Can you explain a little more on the teal and the gut analogy? I get the head and the heart for commitment maturity. So it's the what do you mean by teal?
Teal it's an organization where you know, purpose is really important. Mission, striving for a better world. Also evolutionary goals. So goals they will shift mainly in 2D. We have fixed goals, and it's all more like fixed. Then it becomes more agile in 3D, and 4D it's more like it's more being. It's more the feminine side. It's softer. It's listening to each other. But the evolution is that way, so you cannot avoid it.
Okay, so teal, it's not a company. It's more a way of thinking, is it?
So teal, it's really like, okay, when you have lean, okay, you want to create flow, and you want to get rid of the waste. In agile, Scrum is the most used form of agile. You want to be really agile and follow your customer as close as possible. For example, Amazon really shipping the same day. It's an example of an agile company. And for example, Teal, for Ocean, for example, for Ocean is a company. They are cleaning the ocean. They are taking the plastic out of the ocean. So they have really a purpose, really an idea to improve the world. But when you look at them, they pick the plastic bottles one by one from the ocean, while a 2D guy would kind of automate it and think about how you can bring it in an efficient way in your boat. So it's more about philosophy. 4D, it's more about philosophy. It's more about happiness, well-being. It's personal well-being for the people working there. It's balance. These kind of things you find back in Teal. But Teal, it's a way of thinking. Sustainability, okay. It's also in Teal.
Okay, very good. Okay, so I've got a point from Bram here, which was also going through my mind. So he says Toyota calls your 4D model monozukuri. Are you aware of this, and how can we approach monozukuri in the future in the Western world? And he references his colleague Stephen Blom, who's written a couple of books on monozukuri.
Yeah, I translated the Harada method from English to Dutch, and Norman Bodak is talking about that also in the book. So really trying to be the best in what you do. That is really I would not call it 4D lean is the same as that. I would more focus then on the Harada method. That is monozukuri.
Okay, all right. Okay, so a point from Donna here, who says. She's really saying, is this a sequential thing? Could you go sort of straight from, straight to 4D, or do you have to go through 2D and then 3D and then 4D?
Yeah, you depending where you start. My advice is to do it in in the sequence that is in the model, that you start on the left side and you go to the right side, because one, it's getting easier. When you start in 3D and in the end you have to add some 2D, it's not fun to make standardizations. It's more fun to innovate something, or it's more fun to yeah, to do something about purpose. So it's getting more fun towards 4D. So when you start with 4D and later on you have to add 2D elements, then people don't really like it anymore. That's something that you see. Somebody who worked in 3D will never go back to 2D. Somebody who worked in 4D will never go back to 3D. But the main thing is create that pizza, because it's not that 4D it's better than 2D. That I have to repeat every time. It's different, and they add to each other. And if you don't add all these three elements, you just will not hit the majority of your employees.
Yeah, I mean, what was going through my mind is, if you think of a company like Facebook as an example, that might be more like a 4D type organization where it's fun and et cetera, et cetera. Probably for every Facebook you've got 100 companies that fail because they didn't have some of the sort of 2D type stuff in place, and the structure and processes and rigor and so forth.
Yeah. For example, Tesla might be more 3D than Toyota,
Yeah.
but they can learn a lot about they don't have that TPS, so they can learn a lot about how Toyota constructs cars. Of course, Toyota is innovative too, and the CEO of Toyota, or the president, is even 4D. But when you have a president 4D, normally what is in the plant, what is seen is one level lower. So you really have high level to see the result of that philosophy back on the shop floor.
Yeah. Okay. So we got a couple of questions. One from Elizabeth and one further down from Steve again, which sort of I think relate to sort of further information and so forth. So this might be something we could do. We could email on to people later, but Elizabeth's sort of saying, can you give us more information about the books and journals, the Harada method that you talked about, and have you written anything else? And Steve is talking about, is there an analysis tool available to benchmark and use the Harada way? So maybe you could give us some information. We could forward it to people in this area.
Yeah, it's not that difficult to do what I did. Only you have to do it, and as a leader, the result is 80% dependent on the role you are showing to your employees. So that, for me, that is one of the things. Lead by example, and develop yourself as a leader. Try it, and then communicate with your people. Be open, and give them chances to do it. Everything themselves.
Okay, good. So we'll send some stuff on. Also, on the screen now, you see Jim's website. So there's quite a lot of information, public domain, on the website that you can go and have a look at. So that might be a good starting place for people. Okay, so question here from Bill. Why does Jim think in this day and age we're still suffering from lack of engagement when this humanistic approach goes back as far as Mary Parker Follett, mother of modern management, among others?
Mm-hmm. The reason is the question, why
haven't we learned some of this stuff before, I suppose, is the question.
Yeah, it all starts with the management. If you as a manager think that you are the one who is important, for me, I'm kind of a servant leader. I did everything for my people. So, and the moment that they see that you do effort, then they are engaged. Just like that. So the moment that people are not engaged, don't blame the people. When you are 0D people, okay, then it's not easy to move them. When you are not engaged, for me, is just look at the way you are yeah, you are having contact with your employees.
Okay. Okay, so there's a couple of questions here from Paul. So I'll give you both of them together. So what keeps the flywheel going was the first question. And you talk about doing versus being. What should be the desired balance between those two?
Well, in the Harada method, it's really 50-50. And when you look at the model, there you see that really the point of the highest effectiveness is really the split between the right side of 3D and 4D. So I saw that the most effective way of handling is being in that section. And in the Harada method, it's 50-50. So the moment that you make your plan, the plan is 50% on result and 50% on balance. So it's really 50-50, but you have to keep doing. The moment that you just think that being is enough, you know, that's not enough. If you don't do, then nothing happens. But the balance is 50-50 between result and balance, between masculine energy and feminine energy.
Yeah. Okay, right. I'm just seeing where we go here. So another point from Steve here. Great point on management. Very few CEOs get this. They just want to be, they just want lean. How do you explain the importance of this ground up sort of servant leadership and so forth you're talking about to CEOs and so forth?
Yeah, for me, it's important that the people in the department that they have the feeling that you are one of them, and the moment that you are one of them. So I told you that I brought down my office. The barriers are going away, and the next phase is then okay, that you try to connect even more. So if you have layers in kind of that people are not daring to go one level up because they lack self-confidence, or that there's an hierarchy in how you lead your department. Of course, I took the decisions, but my door was always open. So servant leadership is really getting rid of all ego and just thinking. When you make an environment where everything is arranged and where the employees are happy, you just get also a lot less burden yourself, because you don't have to fix, because people are there. In my department, nobody was nearly sick because they were thinking, when I stay home, I might have missed something, because every day there was happening something. They were inventing new products. They could do whatever they want. They were working on a continuous line, and I told them I want to be at least 30% away from the line.
Right.
And in the end, nobody was on the line. They were all doing things. I created, for example, a lean. I called it the lean cell, and they were working for other departments. But I created a bonus for the department, so they were they were earning money by doing work for other departments, because of the line was running perfectly. But quality was perfect. Everything was perfect. Everything ran. And then you just have to protect them from higher managers who see that they are not standing on the continuous line, and you have to protect them that they don't cut them away. But the profit they brought to the company was a multiple of 2-3 years ago.
Yeah. Okay, so we're nearly out of time, but what I'm going to do is take 3 more questions that we've already got. So let's not put any more questions in, just so we don't go too far over. So The first one is from Elizabeth, who's saying, has the psychological safety of employees been looked at? Very much sort of some of my readings, you know, the reliance of Agile particularly is very heavily reliant on this psychological safety of being open and sharing things. And hence, you know, an issue of job hopping of the Generation Z and millennials, that they might hop from from a less safe to an even less safe organization.
Yeah, yeah. When you look at the distribution of companies, there you see that 90%, 90% is still in 0 and 1D.
Yeah.
But you know, all the employees looking for a company, a good company, they will go for example, in a 1D company, they will stay there for 6 months, then they will leave. So that's waste for both sides. Only the number of companies available, you know, where they do this kind of parts, where they do this kind of roadmaps, it's so limited. For example, 3D companies, it's less than 1%. So you really, when you are aware of what you want, yeah, you really have to look to the companies, and don't be fooled by the fact that they, like for example, Amazon, yeah, you're telling that you're 3D, but in reality they might be more 1D because of the pressure of being a stock company. So you have to be careful where you end. But if you end up in a good company, you never leave, and the spots are limited.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, a question from Paul is, how can a manager organize to be most of their time available for employee development and being at the Gemba?
By improving in quality. So the moment that you know, all the problems, all the burden is gone, then you have time to instead of reworking, of thinking ahead, of trying new solutions. I ask my people everything. They develop their own fibers, they develop their own machines. You know, the limit of the human potential, there is no limit. It's infinite. So the moment that you hand over, they know it a lot better than the manager knows. So if you dare to hand over everything to them, and you guide them in the right way, and you learn them the new things that you learn yourself first, then you know, everything becomes a lot more fun and simple, and yeah, and everything runs smoothly then, and it's a joy to work in that kind of companies, instead of reworking and doing everything twice, or you know, getting complaints, or quality is the base. That's why I'm always telling 2D is the base. If you don't have 2D, yeah, you are lacking you know, the basics of your company. Safety, quality, all these things that need to be installed, standardizations, or the waste is too big, and in that waste you spend a lot of time.
And as you say, that was the 100th step, getting to that 2D sort of area. So
yeah. And still, and keep doing that.
Yeah.
But to go from 1D to, you saw the pictures of the you know, the department before. It was horrible. You have to start doing it. In the end, it was like nothing. When there was a paper on the floor, operators just took the paper and put it in their bag because they didn't want it something to be there on the floor.
Yeah. Okay, so we come to the last question, which is from Vignes again. Have you seen the Harada method being used in other than manufacturing or service, such as sports teams?
Yeah, Yeah, it basically comes from sports, from athletics. So the moment that Takashi Harada started training the method, he was a teacher in Osaka, and they competed. All the schools competed. There were 380 schools in Osaka, and they competed yearly in sports. And Harada was in the school that was every year on the last spot. They were always last in the ranking, and he could not understand that. And he started creating the method, and he told his boss that he wanted to be on number one in 5 years. And even after 3 years, he was number one, and his students became gold medal winners on the Japanese championships instead of the championships of the local championships of Osaka. So it comes from sports, but yeah, I guide people in the Harada method. For example, now I'm doing a project with young people with an ankle band in Holland. But some people come to me to lose weight, or they come to me because they want to run a marathon, or they want to increase their sales with 50%. It's endless. The opportunities, the applications are endless. The company, individual, sports, business, whatever. You can use it for everything.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's about a goal. So it could be a work goal, a life goal,
yeah,
a family goal, or anything, yeah, really.
But mainly, it's about installing self-confidence in that way that you don't even think about failing. So it's kind of, you don't have limits anymore. The moment that I put myself a goal in that year, in 2018, I gave myself 32 goals. I realized them all, and you have to try it to get inside of Toyota as a small Flemish guy, a Belgian guy, to get into Toyota America. But the moment that you really want something, and that's something special, and that's then 4D or even 4D plus, then the universe is kind of bringing elements on your path to realize what you really want, if it's for the good case.
Right. Good. Well, thank you very much, Jim. Time's against us. I think it's been a very full session and lots of good information. And as I say, your website's available. And if there's any more insights, or maybe a copy, the details about the book, for example, we can publicize and send through to people for you. So thanks very much.
Yeah,
and I'm going to hand over.
Yeah, yep. And for sure, if people want to do the scan, it's for free. It's available. You get your own pizza. You see your preferences. You see your DQ. You can estimate your company, and then you get aware of where you are. Also for companies, if they screen their employees, what type of employees they have, where are they themselves. So it will create a lot of opportunities and reduce a lot of problems when the awareness is there, what type of people there are.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So Emma, I'll pass over to you to wind us up for the day.
Yes, thanks, Peter. Thank you very much, Jim. Just following on from that, you will receive a follow-up email with the webinar video recording alongside an electronic certificate. My email details will be there. So if you would also like Jim's slides, please let me know and I can send those directly to you in a PDF format as well. And yes, we hope to see you in our future webinars as well. Okay, thank you very much and take care, everyone. Thank you. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Peter.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.